Once upon a time, in the bustling city of Metropolis, the world knew him as Clark Kent, a mild-mannered reporter for the Daily Planet. But beneath his glasses and unassuming demeanor, he was something extraordinary. He was Superman, the Man of Steel, the last son of Krypton, who had sworn to protect Earth from any harm, no matter the cost. One crisp autumn morning, as the sun rose over Metropolis, a strange disturbance began to ripple through the city. The ground trembled, and a deep, echoing roar filled the air. People gasped as towering shadows appeared in the sky, ships, like nothing they had ever seen before, descending quickly toward Earth. Superman, already dressed in his iconic red and blue suit beneath his civilian attire, shot into the sky, leaving a streak of light behind him. As he approached the alien crafts, he saw their symbols that sent a chill down his spine. They were from his homeworld, Krypton. He hadn't seen these markings in years. It was the symbol of the Black Kryptonians, an ancient and rebellious faction that had long been exiled from Krypton before its destruction. These beings were known for their ruthless pursuit of power and had sworn to take revenge on the House of El. In a split second, Superman's mind raced. He wasn't just fighting for the safety of Metropolis. He was fighting for the honor of his late parents, Jor-El and Lara, and for his birthright. The Black Kryptonians were coming to claim what they believed was rightfully theirs, and they had no intention of leaving peacefully. Superman faced them head-on. Their leader, a tall, imposing figure named Tor-Kal, floated down from one of the ships, his eyes glowing with a dark energy that mirrored the hatred in his heart. "You think you're the last son of Krypton, Kal-El? You are nothing but a child of a failed world. We will rebuild Krypton in our image, starting with you." Tor-Kal raised his hand, sending a blast of dark energy towards Superman. The Man of Steel dodged with incredible speed, but the force of the blast was so powerful that it left a crater in the ground. Superman's muscles burned with the effort as he countered with a punch that sent Tor-Kal flying into one of the ships. But the Black Kryptonians were not so easily defeated. They had stolen the technology of their former homeworld, and their weapons were designed to exploit Superman's weaknesses, particularly his vulnerability to kryptonite. As the battle raged on, Superman found himself surrounded by energy blasts, each one seeming to weaken him more than the last. For the first time in years, Superman doubted himself. He had faced countless threats, but these enemies knew his every move, his every strength and weakness. The world needed him, but he was growing tired, and the kryptonite in the atmosphere was taking its toll. Just as he was about to collapse, a voice called out to him, one he knew all too well. "Kal-El, don't give up." It was Lois Lane, her voice filled with determination and love. She had been watching from the Daily Planet offices, and her presence gave Superman the strength he needed to keep fighting. "I believe in you," she said, her words piercing through the darkness of doubt. With renewed strength, Superman pushed back against the Black Kryptonians. He called upon the full extent of his power, the sun above him fueling his strength. With a mighty roar, he unleashed a force so powerful it obliterated the ships and sent Tor-Kal and his followers fleeing into space. As the dust settled, Superman stood tall, his body bruised but unbroken. He had faced his greatest challenge yet, and he had triumphed. The people of Metropolis cheered, and for a moment, Superman allowed himself to relax, knowing that the Earth was safe once again. And so, the legend of Superman lived on, forever standing as a symbol of hope in a world that needed it most. As the sun set over Metropolis, Clark Kent returned to his modest apartment. He took a moment to gaze out the window at the city he loved, the city that always seemed to find itself in need of a savior. His thoughts drifted to Krypton, the world he would never truly know, and to the family that had entrusted him with the future of their lineage. Though he was tired, his resolve never wavered. He folded his cape carefully, placing it on the chair by the window, a ritual that reminded him of the dual life he lived. As he sat down to write his next article for the Daily Planet, his phone buzzed with a message from Lois. "Dinner tomorrow at 7? You could use a break, Smallville." He smiled and replied, "Wouldn't miss it for the world." The battles might never end, and the challenges would only grow more complex, but Clark knew his strength wasn't just in his powers. It was in the people who believed in him, who stood by him, and who reminded him why he fought so tirelessly. Superman might have been the strongest man on Earth, but Clark Kent was the heart that kept him grounded. And as long as there was even one person in need, Superman would soar into the skies, ready to bring hope to the world once more. Because that's who he was, a hero, a symbol, a protector of a fragile yet resilient world. The days that followed the battle with the Black Kryptonians were unusually quiet for Superman. Metropolis had a newfound energy, its people more united and determined after witnessing their hero fight for them. For the first time in a while, Clark felt like he could catch his breath. But deep down, he knew the universe rarely let him rest for long. One evening, Clark sat in the Daily Planet newsroom, working late on an article about the city's post-battle recovery efforts. Lois Lane was across from him, scribbling furiously on her own notes. The familiar sound of the newsroom, a cacophony of ringing phones, clattering keyboards, and distant chatter, was comforting. "Still brooding over yesterday's fight?" Lois asked, not looking up from her notes. Clark chuckled softly, adjusting his glasses. "You know me too well." "Of course I do. You're thinking about Krypton again, aren't you?" He sighed, leaning back in his chair. "Every time I face something tied to Krypton, I feel disconnected. It's like I'm defending a heritage I barely know, and yet I feel responsible for it." Lois put her pen down and looked at him, her expression softer now. "You carry the weight of two worlds, Clark. But don't forget, you're doing it your way, for the people here. You're honoring Krypton by being who you are, not by what others expect you to be." Before Clark could respond, a soft tremor shook the building. It wasn't strong enough to send people running, but Clark immediately tensed. His super hearing kicked in, picking up faint screams from across the city. He stood abruptly, and Lois didn't even have to ask. "Go," she said, her voice steady. "I'll cover for you." With a nod of gratitude, Clark dashed out of the room, his suit already visible beneath his shirt. Within seconds, Superman was airborne, scanning the city for the source of the disturbance. It didn't take long to find it. A massive sinkhole had opened in the heart of Metropolis, and strange, pulsating lights emanated from its depths. The sight was otherworldly, and as Superman hovered closer, he felt an energy unlike anything he'd encountered before. It wasn't Kryptonian. It was something else. Descending cautiously, Superman entered the sinkhole. What he found beneath the city was a sprawling cavern, its walls lined with crystalline structures that seemed alive, humming with power. At the center of the cavern stood a figure cloaked in shadows, their presence radiating an aura of immense power. "I've been waiting for you, Kal-El," the figure said, their voice echoing unnaturally. "Who are you?" Superman demanded, his fists clenched. "What are you doing here?" The figure stepped into the light, revealing a being unlike anything Superman had seen before. They were humanoid, but their bodies seemed to be made of a shimmering, liquid-like metal. Their eyes glowed with an intense blue light. "I am Zenith," the being said, "a traveler from a dimension far beyond your comprehension. Your world sits atop a nexus of realities, and its power is awakening. I have come to claim it before others do." Superman's eyes narrowed. "You're not claiming anything. Not while I'm here." Zenith laughed, a cold, metallic sound. "You misunderstand Kryptonian. This is not a battle you can win with brute strength. The fate of your world rests on choices, not fists. And soon, you will face a decision that will define your legacy.